Good evening and thanks for watching. I'm Almanac North producer Greg Grell. Tonight's show is going to look a bit different than what you're used to seeing in this time slot. That's because our show this week had been pre-recorded due to a scheduling conflict. Then the Husky Refinery explosion and fire and the subsequent evacuation of a large portion of Superior became the dominant news story of the week. So today, our Almanac North team went out to gather interviews and get the latest on the damage and recovery efforts.
Right now, the fire was extinguished late last night, and at this point we have crews out there, emergency response crews, and they are continuing to monitor the area using firefighting equipment as necessary, and they're just continuing to secure the area. That's really where we're at right now.
When we first started air sampling, we started by focusing on the responders who were out there. So there were police that were working in the evacuation zone. So we targeted those areas where people might be breathing smoke versus areas where nobody was. And in virtually every place that we saw, there were just traced to no levels of the chemicals of concern that we were looking for.
We want to collect as much information as possible, and this is the only refinery in Wisconsin. In terms of scale, it is smaller than most that you will find around the United States, but there's still lessons to be learned.
As the event evolved and became a greater threat, then decisions were made to effect an evacuation, and that covered a significant portion of our community. I think it's likely it impacted, perhaps over half of our population.
All the firefighting equipment, the training exercises that we've done in the past, not only internally, but with the Duluth Fire Department and even with our partners at Enbridge, we employed all that technology, all those resources, all that training was put to use yesterday. We want to make sure that it's safe to gain entry to the site, so we're not even going to step on site until we're confident from the emergency response team, on-site operations personnel, that it's safe to go back to the facility. At that time, we need to go back in, make an assessment of the damage and the cleanup efforts that are going to be necessary. Once that's done, we can start putting together a plan.
There's multiple things that are going on. There's activities at the site, the cleanup that's going on at the site. There's activities near the site where there's some runoff that's trying to be contained and recollected. There's water quality monitoring that's going on to ascertain if there was a problem there or not. There's air monitoring that's going on, until the smoldering heat is gone from the facility.
Authorities are working to determine the cause of the explosion and fire, but don't expect any definitive findings until the site is safe for investigators. Superiorites, meanwhile, are returning to life as usual, knowing that it could have been much, much worse. Up next, Denny and Julie have the rest of this week's Almanac North program.
Well, hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thank you very much for watching. Keep in mind this week's show was recorded on Wednesday.
Despite the late spring thaw, some major highway construction projects have begun on important highways in Minnesota. Along Interstate 35 in Pine County, one of those big projects is ramping up this week. And here to tell us more about this season's road construction is Beth Petrowske from MNDOT's District 1 office in Duluth. And Beth, thank you and welcome for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, now that project on I-35 in Pine County, I understand, is already down to a single lane in both directions. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes, we have had the project started for a couple of weeks now, and we do have some lane restrictions in place while we're building the bypass and crossover lanes. Beginning on Friday, the 27th, we will be putting all of traffic on the southbound lanes in a head-to-head configuration while we remove and rebuild the Snake River Bridge on the north side.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you expect that this is going to result in some major backups along the corridor?
Yes, we do, and we've been trying to reach out as much as we can to the public. We've been doing it for about 3 or 4 months at least, through every opportunity we have to let them know about this, because we don't want people to get caught up in the traffic. So we've been encouraging people to check 511mn.org before they leave, plan an alternate route, and above all, if they can travel during off-peak times, that's going to be the best solution.
I just want to have you reinforce how people are supposed to do that zipper merge
okay.
to help keep that congestion down a little bit?
Well, it's basically just like a zipper. If we have a sign posted, I'm not sure if we're going to encourage the zipper merge on this project or not, but we want people to start to try to merge in at the correct merge point. If they merge too early, it doesn't do as much good as if they do it at the appropriate spot. And you just basically take turns, and what we don't want to see is people preventing people from moving, merging in. All in all, if people do the merge correctly, it saves a lot in congestion and we can keep traffic moving better.
Beth, what's happening with the Highway 33 I-35 roundabout near Cloquet?
Okay, this is a great project. It is going to be at the Highway 33 I-35 intersection there, and it has been the site of 2 fatal crashes and 5 serious injury crashes over the past 10 years. The new roundabout will help keep traffic moving in a safe manner. It prevents right angle crashes, which are about the most serious kind of crash you can have. So the roundabout is a great safety mechanism to keep traffic moving, reduce congestion, reduce emissions, and provide a safer way for pedestrians to get through that area as well.
We don't have a lot of roundabouts in northeastern Minnesota. Is there a kind of a natural aversion to having these roundabouts with the public?
Well, actually, we started building roundabouts in the metro area about 10 years ago, and people, they don't seem to like them at first, and so we do try to do quite a lot of outreach to help teach them. We've got some excellent videos on our website that show how to drive a roundabout and explain the safety benefits. Usually after we complete them, people love them. They just love them.
So safety benefits as far as serious accidents, but do you find that when they first go in, people have a lot of fender benders as they're trying to figure out the flow of traffic around them?
Yeah, studies actually kind of conflict on that point. Some say that they reduce crashes, property damage crashes. Some say there's more property damage crashes, but we'd rather have minor fender benders than fatals. And so that's the way we're looking at it. And if everybody drives it correctly, follows the pavement markings and the signs, and just, you know, once they've driven it a few times, people seem to be do just fine.
Tell us about the Highway 61 project at Two Harbors End near Lafayette Tunnel.
Okay, we do have a big project on Highway 61 right in the heart of Two Harbors. It'll be starting in May. It's a major improvement project to keep traffic moving through that area, especially on northbound on Friday evenings and southbound on Sunday evenings. If you've ever traveled through there, you know what that's like. It just bottlenecks. And so our project will help keep traffic moving through that area. We're gonna build a couple of left turn lanes, so that's a designated lane, and then the through traffic can keep going in each direction.
Will this be a summer-long project?
Yes, it'll be through October, and we've had a lot of meetings with the business community and with the local government officials, and we had some real strong goals. One thing we wanted to be able to do was maintain the parking, because they have limited parking, and we were able to do that, keep all the parking spots. All businesses will be accessible, and many of the businesses have devised plans to help them, you know, make it through construction. It is difficult for businesses when we do this, but we like to get in and get out, and then we have a good project for a long time.
Sounds like there are projects all over the region. A big detour this summer on Highway 38 near Grand Rapids.
Yep, we had a public meeting on that last week. We've had a couple, and the detour it's lengthy. It's going to be about 25 miles long, but we're going to be resurfacing 14 miles of really deteriorated pavement from Pug Hole Lake to Marcel, and that's on the way up to Big Fork. So it's going to be a big improvement. We're doing a lot of groundwork. We're installing 40-some culverts and repairing some others. We're making some grade changes, and it's going to be a much safer highway when we're done.
What's happening with the Twin Ports interchange, the can of worms?
Well, we are going to be having a public meeting on Monday, the 30th. We have 2 sessions, one from 11:30 to 12:30, one from 6 to 7. That's at Clyde Ironworks, and we really encourage people to attend if they can. We've had good turnouts at these meetings. We've had multiple meetings, and we were just recently at the home show, and we visited with a lot of people, and people were really excited about the project. The plan has come down to the point where it's pretty much close to being what we think we're going to be building, but we're still taking input. The project will bring the interchange up to the modern design standards. It will reduce weaving. It will have there won't be any blind merges, and we'll be able to have lane continuity on the I-35 corridor.
Not quite so frightening.
Exactly, exactly.
Were there things that people brought up in any of the public sessions that actually changed the configuration of the project or concerns that they raised?
Oh, yes, it did. And we met with, we had some really planned meetings with government officials, local officials, business leaders. That happened about a year ago. We had multiple meetings, and we've taken everything that we've heard into consideration. It's an extremely challenging project in a confined area. And what I find very interesting about it is, you know, some people made a lot of fun of the can of worms over the years. But basically, after all these iterations of multiple plans, I think we've probably kind of had about 15 in all. The end result is very similar to the one that was designed back in the 60s. But this one will have all of the safety improvements, and another big feature for this area is all of the bridges will be able to carry overweight loads, whereas with our current configuration, some of those overweight loads have to take side streets, and we want to keep the traffic like that off of the side streets and on the freeway where it belongs.
Is all of the funding in place for that now?
We're getting very close. We're hoping to maybe start construction in 2020. That's the goal, and it'll take about 3 years, and we'll have a brand new interchange, and I think everybody will be really happy with it.
Beth, do work safety zones continue to be a problem in the state?
Yes, yes, absolutely. We have a problem. We really encourage people to pay attention. The biggest problem right now is distraction. People are on their phones and doing things they shouldn't be doing, and we encourage them to drive the posted speed and pay close attention, because the people that are out there, they want to come home at night to their families and friends, and we also want the motorists to also come home to their family and friends. So.
How would you rate this year in terms of just investment in highway infrastructure? Are the state's highways getting up into good shape now?
Well, actually, in terms of the amount of money we have available here in District 1, we're spending about $100 million on our 31 construction projects this year. The number is about equal, but $100 million is pretty high for us. It's usually a little bit less. Statewide, we still have a major problem with preservation of our highways. We are not able to meet the target goals that we have, that we know is the ideal time to repair those pavements. And every time we have to push a project back a year, or 2 years, or 5 years, or 10 years, you know, it costs us more to repair the damage that happens. So we still need funding, additional funding.
Now there's a public information line, I understand, that people can go to find out information, or a website.
Yes, yes, they can check our website anytime. Just do a Google search for MNDOT District 1, or if you just want to go to our main website, MNDOT. All of our projects are listed, all the details, and we encourage people to check back and check that periodically.
And the 511min.org, is that something different than that?
Yes, that is actually our traveler information center.
Okay.
And if people, you know, log in on their computer to 511mn.org, the latest and greatest traffic information is available. You'll be able to see traffic cameras, you'll be able to see crashes, and people are really enjoying that system. It's improved a lot over the years. So we encourage people to use that. And once they start using it, I think they'll keep using it.
All right. Beth Petrowske, MNDOT, thank you so much for coming in and sharing some information about this important season here in the Northland.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Well, there he is. For 38 years, our next guest has been hiking trails, wetting a line, hunting, and sampling all of the great outdoors our region has to offer. He's written about these experiences in the Duluth News Tribune Sunday stories that many have enjoyed over the decades. His frequent columns in the paper touch on everyman topics that have endeared him to generations of readers. Well, that's all coming to a close this week as he begins a new chapter in retirement outdoors. So outdoor writer and columnist Sam Cook from the Duluth News Tribune joins us now. Welcome, Sam. Does it seem possible that 38 years have gone by since you started this great journalistic adventure?
No, unless you look at some of the pictures in my earlier books. It's like, I don't know who that guy is. No, it's gone by very fast.
What brought you to Duluth?
Well, my wife and I moved up from Kansas just on a lark, quit our jobs in '76 and moved to Ely. And once we got up here, we thought we were going to go back in a year, but it was too good. We stayed and just worked our way down to where I could get a job at a paper large enough to have an outdoors section. And Phyllis was kind enough to do what she needed to do to keep us afloat and stuff. So yeah, it worked out great.
You've definitely kept the art of storytelling alive and well for many years. What do you think is the secret to being a good storyteller?
Well, the first thing is to just find people who have stories. That's probably the hardest part of this job that people don't really see. You have to find people you don't know, continually find people you don't know to go out and do things with. And you get tips from people. People email you, they call you, you should do a story on my neighbor, or you pick them up at ideas up at bait shops or wherever. And I've come to trust suggestions that people give me about people. And then you just put yourself in their world. Yeah. They take you to their sacred places. And
were most folks willing to meet with you and spend time with you, or did they gasp when they heard you on the phone for the first time?
I don't know whether they wanted to, but a lot of them did it anyway. And especially I think it got a little easier over time as people got used to my writing and how I wrote and
But they trusted you.
Well, I guess they took me to places that they don't take a lot of people, and they let me tell their stories. I mean, I was turned down a few times over the years, not too many, but and some people just don't feel like sharing. I understand that, but yeah, most people have been very gracious about it, and once you're there, and usually it's not just them, it's a group of people or whatever, and they just open up, and we're not talking about serious stuff. We're talking about fishing and hunting and camping and stuff.
The outdoors and the seasons up here are so cyclical. You have some of the same events, the same openers year after year. Ever a struggle to tell a story that you've done before in a new and fresh way, or did you always have new ideas, new people that made it fresh and interesting?
Generally, it's the people. The people are the stories. And it's like walleye fishing is walleye fishing, and often on the opener it's not great weather and not always great fishing. But if you're with an interesting guide or a family or whatever, there are just so many situations you can put yourself into, and then it's not hard to tell the story. It's always about the people.
Now, you would spend a day or two or more with many of the people you were writing about. Would you actually interview them, or just listen to what they're saying and just have daily conversation during all that time?
Well, part of the time we're just hanging out fishing, but if I'm fishing in a boat with somebody, I've got my notebook on the boat seat, and I've got my camera around my neck, and I'm shooting pictures or video and taking notes, and I'm asking them questions along the way, and I'm just writing down what they say even if I don't ask questions. And so it's a combination of all those things, but you have to ask specific questions to get to the heart of the story. Well, how long did you and your dad fish here together before whatever? So
we have some photos that friends of yours at the Duluth News Tribune sent over just to kind of remind you of some of the highlights of your career.
I was quite concerned about this.
so maybe just
that's
share.
respectable.
Yes, they're all respectable.
Right.
Share a little bit of information about
this. Is a dog sledding trip with Kelly Murphy out of Ely up to Basswood Lake, which is large enough that I can divulge the name of the lake, fishing for lake trout. And I think that was the only fish we caught during the day, and it worked out badly because I caught it. And I always want the other people to catch the fish so I can get pictures of them playing the fish and stuff. But that was a great day. And I did several trips with Kelly over the years and lake trout fishing. This is bird hunting, sharp-tailed grouse in Montana with my friend Mark Helmer, and we go out there almost every fall now. We discovered that a number of years ago, and it's early season, warm, but just those prairies are absolutely spectacular to just walk and walk and walk with your dog. Phyllis, my wife, took this picture. We were vacationing over at the Apostle Islands last summer, I guess, when the pup was young, and I got tired and she got tired, and so we just rocked back in the camp chair and Phyllis did the rest. This is how I work some of the time. This is sitting atop a fly bridge on a Lake Superior charter fishing boat, just waiting for the next rod to go to thumping and hop down and take pictures and take notes.
Looks like you might see some of that in retirement.
That's the best part of the duty right there, I can tell you. Now this was a very interesting day. This is the day that the bear climbed the tree in the yard at City Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and it was handy because it was up there for like 8 hours, and we could just keep going back and forth from the newsroom right across the street to the City Hall and see where the bear was. Now that's Bob King, one of our longtime photographers, and
Astro Bob.
Astro Bob, and what I'm doing here, I have no idea, but that was quite a day. And gosh, I don't remember what river this was. This looks like the Lester in Duluth, near Lakes or near Superior Street or London Road. But I
Clint Austin photo.
What's that?
It's a Clint Austin photo?
Yeah, Clint. I think we were doing a story on a man who was talking about spay casting, a new form of fly fishing.
Sam, is there a favorite place you visited in search of a story? I'm thinking of the North Pole. Would that have been it?
It was pretty cool to stand at the North Pole, but I got there the easy way in a Twin Otter aircraft. So certainly the trip in the Brooks Range we did a number of years ago of Alaska, that was a spectacular trip. But I'll tell you, you can have just as wonderful experiences on the Brule River, on the North Shore, up in the canoe country here, at somebody's lake up out of Grand Rapids. It's all great, and it's just different forms of good, you know.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Phyllis as we were flipping through the photos, and you really did bring her and your family into a lot of your stories. Is it interesting to look back and kind of relive some of those adventures with Phyllis and your family?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're just doing what other families did, and I figured if I could write about some things that happened along the way, other people would identify with that too. So yeah, and they had those stories were always edited up front by Phyllis or somebody before they cleared for publication.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was
What's the future for Sam Cooke? You're going to keep your Friday column.
Yep. Yeah, we'll keep the Friday column just because I think I'll want to write, and the paper was interested in having it keep running, so that's good. And I'm lining up trips like crazy. I feel like I've stored up so much demand for getting to certain places, and now I find that people are happy to ask me to go along on these things who I've written about before, or just friends that I haven't in other towns.
Will you keep the notebook in your pocket or put it aside?
I think I'll always have it in my pocket. I'm just a writer, and I think any time you might come up with something that could be a column or it could be a story or whatever, and well, that's the way I'll start, I think.
Mm-hmm. Is there a story you always wanted to do that you never had an opportunity to write?
I don't think there are too many that slipped away. There are a couple of older characters on the Gunflint Trail that got away from me, but mostly I've gotten to the ones I wanted to get to. I didn't really get to know Justine Kerfoot on the Gunflint as well as I would like to have. That was an oversight on my part, probably. But no, I think we've gotten to a lot of them. But they'll keep being people and keep being stories for other people to write about.
Mm-hmm. Any advice for a young writer entering the field these days?
Well, the field is completely different than when I started the field. I would say be flexible. You don't know what medium you're going to be writing for these days, but the main thing is to just get out, have experiences. Yeah. If you have experiences, you'll have things to write about, and read good writing.
Sure. Sam, thank you very much for 38 years of wonderful storytelling that I've enjoyed.
Thanks a lot, Dennis.
Appreciate
and Julie. It's been great, and thanks to all my readers.
All the best in retirement.
Thanks.
Thank you.
let's turn now to the business news from the editors at Business North. Enbridge Energy gained the support of a Minnesota administrative law judge Monday for its Line 3 replacement project. The endorsement, however, is not precisely what the company had requested. Judge Ann O'Reilly said the new line is needed, but it should follow the existing route, not the new one Enbridge preferred. In a brief public statement, Enbridge said it will review the decision before indicating where it stands. On a positive note, Enbridge would not have to abandon the underground line that it's replacing. A downside is that 2 American Indian bands no longer want an oil pipeline on their property.
Lake Superior's fury a week ago has raised the cost to repair damaged portions of Duluth's Lake Walk, a key tourist attraction. Following an October storm, repair costs had already reached several $million. High winds from April 13th to 15th added up to $700,000 to the total. Mayor Emily Larson said on this past Monday, parts of the iconic boardwalk are missing near the Fitkers retail complex in the Canal Park and near Great Lakes Aquarium. Repair funds are being sought from the state, although the city will have to contribute 25%.
In an unexpected political move, a fringe group of Itasca County Republicans last week called a special meeting to recall Chairman Ted Lovedahl when he was on vacation. They also tried to exclude some delegates from participating, specifically those who supported Lovedahl. Reasons for the proposed recall were not revealed outside of the meeting, but those who were allowed to attend said the measure was rejected. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
If you have a comment on our show, call now. Dial 218-788-2849 to leave a message, or send an email to almanacnorth@wdsc.org and visit the WDSC website for updates on the program schedule, news about your favorite PBS shows, and upcoming events here at the station. And Julie, the warmer weather has a lot of people excited about getting outdoors once again.
Yeah, it was kind of nice to see those pictures of Sam Cooke outdoors.
Absolutely.
Think about all the fun things that we have here at our doorstep.
That's for sure. We leave you tonight with some iceberg kayaking videos shot over the weekend by folks at the Day Tripper of Duluth. For Julie and the crew here at WDSC, I'm Dennis Anderson. Have a great weekend. Good night, everybody, and be kind.
And down.